Steve, for anybody who watches all my stuff here, first of all, thank you if you watch all my stuff here. I've said this about 18 times, it seems, but I'll say it one more time as concise as possible. I know there were Buckeye fans all over the place, like in surveying the score predictions before this game that, 52-45 and all that. We're expecting to see another Michigan State Purdue kind of game where, boom, 28 on the board in the first quarter, throwing the ball all over the yard, and boom, we're done. Move on to the next game. I was more impressed and I found it more meaningful the way they won this game. The defense in the second half was ridiculously good. People can make all sorts of comments about Notre Dame's limited on offense. Yeah, but nobody's going to be doing that to them this year. I doubt it. Maybe Clemson. And then just pounding the ball in the fourth quarter. I thought it was a more meaningful win the way it played out. You're on mute.
There I am. Am I not? I can't believe.
We got you.
Okay. I don't know why I was on mute. Any rate, take two. I think that there's different ways you look at this. I think this is a game that's going to benefit them down the stretch, later on, say in a couple of weeks when they play Wisconsin, down the line at Michigan State could be a close game. Michigan at the end, whoever they play after that. Now they've been in a close game and they understand what it takes to pull through and win that game. I think that offensively, they had to play left-handed without Jackson Smith-Njigba. They were never able to take the top fully off the defense and hit a deep ball, which changes everything. They had problems establishing the run for the first 2.5 quarters until finally they were able to break through and pick up rushing yards in 7 and 10-yard chunks. And then defensively, to hold Notre Dame to 10 points and like 260 yards, something like that, like 12 first downs, whatever all the exact numbers were. Very impressive. But I like Notre Dame's quarterback. I like the tight end Mayer. I like their offensive line. But I didn't see a lot of playmakers at running back and wide receiver. And I question whether Notre Dame will be able to average even 30 points a game this year unless they go off completely against UNLV or Marshall or, one of those other lower teams that they're going to play. But so take it all with a grain of salt. I think the end result is just fine, 21-10. Their 5th straight double-digit win over Notre Dame in that series. Have now won the last 5 by an average of 15 points a game. So that's pretty good. They don't have a Notre Dame problem, and they really haven't since 1936. So that's good. That serves them well on a lot of different levels. This was an event above many others, I'll say that. We were getting intelligence that the garages in and around campus were full at 3 p.m., and there was just nowhere for people arriving late if you didn't have a parking pass to park. So a lot of people came down to campus to be a part of the scene, and the Buckeyes won the game. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was, quite the spectacle. And, I'll throw this out there. How many people, when it was 10-7 at half, Notre Dame thought that Ohio State was going to lose this game? I've talked to a lot of people informally, and I think it just seemed like it was a matter of when Ohio State was going to be able to turn it on. And you look at Notre Dame's big plays, and you had the missed tackle on the first drive, and Ohio State ends up holding Notre Dame to 3. You have the tipped pass where the walk-on for Notre Dame, tipped it to himself, as I believe it was Denzel Burke tried in vain to knock it away from him. You had the completion at the end of the third quarter that may or may not have been a completion. I think I've gone through a good number of, the yards that Notre Dame had in the game, period, at that point, just with those 3 plays. I mean, I can think of 1 or 2 other ones that were somewhat significant plays, but, the defense plays very well. Of course, I've had people question, well, just wait till Ohio State plays a team that passes well. And I'm like, well, who is that going to be? Arkansas State went and put up big numbers on Grambling, not a good Grambling team. I've talked to people in Toledo who said don't buy into the fool's gold of what Toledo did week one. Wisconsin has not been a good passing team since cheese was invented. It's going to be a minute until Ohio State faces somebody that might have a good passing offense. I was very impressed with a lot of things I saw. I think that there are enough things that didn't go well that it gives the coaches plenty of stuff to hammer this week and next week as Ohio State plays out of conference group of 5 opponents. So I think that that's important. And, I think everybody got enough of a taste of, this defense is going to be able to do some stuff that we haven't seen before. And I'll end my little segment by saying this. Tommy Eichenberg wins the Bronco Nagurski Defensive Player of the Week award. The last time Ohio State had somebody win the National Player of the Week on defense was Chase Young in 2019. And Chase Young ended up going on and winning the national award. So, I think there's a lot to be happy about.
Definitely. And when the score was 10-7 in the third quarter or whatever, you're wondering, yeah, the defense is looking good, but you're still facing a loss. So I'm sure there's a lot of clinching all over Ohio and nationally with that game. But, afterwards, like our post game reflected quite a bit of Ryan Day's post game in that, he gets to the podium and the first question is, Ryan, were you surprised that your offense struggled so much? And he said, before I answer that, I think actually he said, I refuse to answer that. First, let me talk to you about the defense and everything else that we were able to do, close out the game running. And then he came back, he's like, and now to answer your first question. Yeah, it's a little surprising, but also they know that the passing game will fix itself. They were without 2 of their top 4 receivers. So, generally when that happens, unlike, except for maybe the Rose Bowl last year, it becomes noticeable, but not having Jackson out there just changed so many different things that they were going to do. It moved to Mecca inside and, you adjust on the fly. And I think the one thing that I keep going back to is what the defensive coaches have been saying and what Ryan Day has been saying. There was never any flinching, never any doubts on the sideline. The defense, as Kevin said, gave up essentially 3 plays all game. And even one of the best plays I thought was Notre Dame's longest run, like a fly sweep from the running back. And there were 3 Ohio State guys that were eventually able to tackle him. And last year that would have gone the distance. And this year it only went 14 yards. It was well blocked, well conceived. And yet there were still 3 Buckeyes there to bring the ball carrier down when last year it wasn't going to happen. And you saw very few memories or glimpses of the defense last year. And, after the bobbling catch, they had the pass over the middle to the tight end, and that was well designed as well. And that may have been the only time the defense was fooled in that game. And if you only have one of those, I don't care how good the offense is, that just tells me the defense is very disciplined. And it's easier to assume that will continue to happen when it happened in one game. When they're that disciplined and that sound and they're there for each other so much of the time, that's what they've been seeing in practice. And so that's why nobody was surprised that they saw it in the game.
All right, Tony, we know the results of the defensive performance. We watched it, and I'm guessing all of you guys rewatched the game. I only saw the live version. What were the answers that Jim Knowles had? And again, we can make and place limitations on Notre Dame's offense, but still, they got to be playing a top 30 offense in the country. They're still playing a tremendous offensive line. The quarterback did play well. Is he going to get better? Probably, but he's been in big games before, played meaningful snaps. This is just the first time he's carried the load from start to finish. The defensive performance was just so good.
And it was. And one of the things that Perry Aliano, the safeties coach, said yesterday is that he was proud of his safeties because they stayed in the entire game. Like this is one of those games that we pointed to early, in the preseason, in the summer, in the spring. Like, well, they need to play 3 linebackers against Notre Dame, a physical offense. You can't just play 3 safeties and 2 linebackers and expect to stop the run. And they played 3 safeties. They stayed in the nickel all game long. And that defense was a fast defense, and it helps to have more speed out there. That helps against the read option. They kept Tyler Buckner pretty well contained in that. I think he had like 1 run that broke free, but I just the way they were spread out and able to tackle, and then they had answers. They had help. Everybody had a little bit of help, and they played like there was more than 11 guys out there. I think on one play there actually was more than 11 guys. I think they had 12 guys on one of the goal line plays, but other plays they only had 11, but they played like 12 or 13. And I think that's maybe the best thing you can say about this defense is they were fast and they were everywhere.
It didn't look like they had to spend a lot of time trying to diagnose and think about, all right, what are my responsibilities? What is it that I'm supposed to be doing out here? It was a lot more of them being able to just get out there and play ball. It was a case of, okay, they stayed in the 4-2-5, but it wasn't like everybody was able to just predict, okay, this is what they're going to do. You know, people in the stands, people on Notre Dame side, you know, they were able to bring pressure. You know, Tommy Eichenberg had a big sack of where he kind of curled in and was, you know, nobody picked him up at that point. You know, they were getting stuff out of guys that maybe hadn't had opportunities previously. Mike Hall had a tremendous game.
Yep, I was very impressed overall defensively. I thought we saw that they really didn't venture too far from their base, the 4-2-5. They brought in Jack Sawyer at times to be kind of the Jack defensive end or Leo or whatever they call it, and that was he's kind of a stand-up linebacker at that point. So you'd say almost a 3-3-5, but you know, whatever. I don't think you can put this defense in a box and declare it that it's this or it's that or it's anything. It's whatever they need to do on that given day, on that given down and distance against that opponent and that personnel grouping. I think that's what Jim Knowles has shown, is that he will tailor it to fit whatever it is they're going against and have a reason for what they're doing and execute it. I think we did see that they took some risks, as we saw, brought the corner blitz on the first play. The safety slipped and it got out for 45 yards or whatever that play was, but they came right back and slammed the door on them and forced the field goal. So they're resilient. Man, they were running to the ball, 2 and 3 guys swarming to the ball. Last year, you would have one guy at the ball and he would struggle. And if he didn't make the tackle, then it was a 15, 20-yard play. Well, that wasn't really the case on Saturday. So part of it, as I've continued to attribute, is the fact that they are a year older, year wiser, year smarter, year faster, year stronger for a lot of these guys. I think that was really borne out in this game, that we saw the combination of a very good scheme to go along with improved personnel. And I think the result was very impressive, I thought.